in our community. And so I wanted to let you know about that. You'll hear a little bit more about that later. But with that, I wanted to just get into the message for today. We're in a series called The Path Principle, and we're talking about wisdom from Proverbs. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and take this. Hello? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this is a great time. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just one second, hold on. Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, just one thing I got to do. I'll be right with you. Can you hold on 1 minute? Yeah, thanks. Okay, Chris, I got this call.
Okay.
It's really an urgent call.
Urgent, okay.
It's urgent, and I wasn't really expecting it. It's just kind of come up, but I need to take care of it right now. You've done this before. You've preached before. Would you be willing to just take the message from here? Just take it?
Like the whole thing? Like all
yeah.
Like all that?
Yeah.
Just in front of them?
Yeah. You guys are okay with that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it, bud.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Just give me a quick second to kind of get my bearings here. All right. So what are we talking about today? Path principle. Got it. Okay. Distractions. Some just kind of write themselves, don't they? Thanks for indulging our shenanigans there, but we wanted to come up with something clever to introduce the idea of distractions. But if you have your Bible, we're going to start in Proverbs 4, verses 25 through 27. Let your eyes look directly ahead, and let your gaze be fixed straight in front of you. Watch the path of your feet, and all the ways will be established. Do not turn to the right nor the left. Turn your foot from evil. So we're going to be referencing that verse kind of throughout the message here. But when we talk about distractions, we often associate them with driving. Okay? And I'm kind of a numbers guy, so I wanted to start with a few statistics here. 7% of all fatal crashes last year were distraction related. It is estimated that cell phone use alone accounted for 27% of car crashes. And driver distraction is responsible for more than 58% of teen crashes. But distractions can go beyond our driving. They can affect our lives as a whole. Winston Churchill said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." Distractions need to be held in check if we're to stay on the right path, like we've talked about during this series. First, I want to make an important distinction between a break and a distraction. Quick story here. After college, I moved up to Sioux Falls to work. I was job searching in spring of 2009, so if anybody remembers that, it's not a great time to be doing that. But found a job and started working. I didn't really have any family in the area. I knew one person in Sioux Falls when I moved here, and that was my roommate, so, not really a great range. And my now wife was still going to college, so I didn't really have anything to do, so I worked a lot of hours during the week. And it was fun. I was learning, successful, but I didn't really have anything else to do to occupy my time, and it was fine. About 3 months in, though, my manager who hired me, we were having our typical business meeting and going through things, and he's like, "Everything looks great, and proud that you're doing so well." But then he said something to me that I never really forgot. He said, "My last question is, how is your Chris Burke's time doing?" I was puzzled. I don't know what Chris Burke's time is. And he said, "I hired Chris Burks because I thought he was awesome, and I'm afraid you're going to forget that if you don't spend more time with him." He's like, I appreciate the effort and it's working, but you're going to run yourself into the ground. It's been 12 years. He's not even my manager. We don't even work for the same company anymore. But when we either talk on the phone or we have lunch, he always asks, how is your Chris Burke's time doing? It's always a nice little check for me. We all have limits, and we all cannot go 100 miles per hour all the time. If you're a parent of little boys, you tell them that, this too. They can't go that hard for that long. But we've all been at a point where we feel that we can't take one. I'm a parent of young kids, and we can get overwhelmed pretty easily, but it's always important to have our, insert your name here, time. In general, breaks are emotionally, physically, and spiritually essential. And sometimes those candies just need to be crushed. They're asking for it. So that's not what this message is about. But we want to spend some time on distractions. Distractions are those things that grab our attention. And there's also things that we're intentional about giving our attention to. We call them priorities. In everyone's life, we have our priorities that require our attention, and we're intentional about giving our attention to those things. Our families, our marriages, our children all require attention, and if we want healthy relationships, we choose to give our attention to those. But there's things that also grab our attention, distractions. As we look at how our time and attention is spent, are our relationships being given our attention, or are our relationships grabbing us off a path that we want to be on? The things that usually grab our attention, distractions, are usually destructive or harmful. But those things that we usually give our attention to, priorities, are generally productive and fruitful. Thus, it's far better to be intentional about what we are doing. Know your direction, know your path. So when it comes to the direction of our lives, it's wiser to give our attention to our priorities rather than let distractions grab our attention. So I want to start with two keys here of how we give our attention to something. If you have your notes, the first key is fix our gaze. Okay? We're coming back to that Proverbs verse. Solomon says, fix your gaze directly before you and do not turn to the right or the left. So, quick story for you. There was a little girl who was at home with her dad having some good father-daughter time, and they decided to make some chocolate chip cookies. And they were just about to have one, and here's a photo of that. You can see the daughter is putting on her best, just please, Dad, can we have a cookie before Mom gets home? She's like, I'm not going to tell anybody or anything like that, just, it's going to be fine. And Dad's like, okay, that's fine. And then they open up the fridge, they're out of milk. And daughter's just devastated because you can't have cookies without milk. And so she asked, she was like, Dad, Mom's going to be on her way home. Can we let her know that we're out of milk? And she can pick up milk, and then we can have our cookies. And Dad's like, I think we'll just wait until Mom gets home, and then once she gets settled, I'll go out and get some milk for you, and then we'll have milk and cookies for dessert. And the little girl's like, I don't really understand. Why can't Mom just pick up the milk? It seems much easier. And Dad responded, well, it costs $300. And the little girl's eyes got real big and was like, milk costs $300? And Dad says, yes, when your mom stops by Target to pick up milk, it always costs $300. Now, in all fairness here, the milk is way in the back, and all those throw pillows are right there just looking for good homes. I get it. It's fine. But, anyways, not speaking from any personal experience whatsoever. So, Colossians says, be careful to be distracted or diverted. Paul says that to the church in Colossians, and thought it applied well here. And then Proverbs 4:23, ignore all sideshow distractions. Proverbs 4:23, that's from the Message translation. Fixing our gaze and staying focused is important, and we can get lulled to sleep a bit too. Monotony can be a distraction. I think a lot of us can suffer from this nowadays because it's a little cold outside, and it's a little rough to go outside for long periods of time. And it can be a little bit monotonous getting home and just looking at the same four walls. But then we get to the warmer months, and then we get more familiar with these rumble strips. What's the purpose of rumble strips? To keep us on the right path, keep us on the road, keep us going in the right direction, making sure that we're staying focused. Quick example, a drive out to the Black Hills. One of the reasons why we have those rumble strips on the interstate is that from the Missouri River to the Black Hills, there's not a ton to really look at. Now, luckily, we're here in South Dakota, so we realize that there is one thing out there that we can absolutely count on, and those are our wall drug signs, right? Wall drug signs. Last year, we went out to the Black Hills, and my daughter was in first grade, and she was like, I want something to count on our way out there. And I was like, I don't know how many wall drug signs there are from here to or from Sioux Falls to Wall. She counted 124. I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts about that, but so anyways, nonetheless, if something grabs our attention or lulls us to sleep, it has the opportunity to bump us off that path that we want to be on. So it's important to fix our gaze. Second key is to follow his ways. Okay, Bible is a good way to make sure we're in line with following his ways. Paul says in Philippians 4 or chapter 4, verse 1, don't waver, stay on track, steady in God. And then back to the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12, if you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, then the Lord your God will keep his agreement and show his love to you as he promised your ancestors. Deuteronomy 7:12. Find it interesting that the word pay is used here. It implies a price, which generally means a cost. Thus, we might have to give up something that we like or want to do in order to pay or give our attention to something. God knows that we will be tempted and we will be distracted. God knows where our attention goes, we will go as well. David realized this as well in Psalm 119 when he prayed, turn my eyes from worthless things. He understood that whatever he focused on, it would draw him in the direction, or he understood whatever he focused on, it would draw him in the direction of. And when we fix our gaze on God and follow his ways, the Bible tells us what happens. Psalm 128, verse 1, David says, how joyful are those who fear in the Lord and all those who follow in his ways. So that's the what. In this case, it's avoid distractions. I'm going to go out on a limb, and that's not a earth-shattering, life-changing revelation for most of us, right? But it's the how that can be difficult for us. How do we avoid distractions? What has grabbed us? What has our attention? Is it of God? How do we know it's of God? And how do we diagnose it? So I was watching one of those sports talk shows on ESPN after a playoff weekend, which is always fun, for spiritual development. And one of the analysts said two things I wanted to share with you. He was talking about football, of course, but I listened to it, and I was like, when I was working on this sermon, I was like, I really like that. I wonder if I can use that. And I think it really can apply to our spiritual development. Now, I'm not authorizing watching ESPN for spiritual development. This was a happy coincidence. But he said, you will not perform to your expectations. Your performance will fall to your training. I think in general, people leave church on Sundays feeling pretty good about themselves. They just got refreshed, got to see some friends, maybe got a break from their kids for an hour. And they leave the church saying, great sermon, John made that sound pretty easy. Stay on your path, be prudent, avoid distractions. Bam, got it. Sounds easy enough. Then we get out into the big target of life, and things can fall apart pretty quickly if this is our only place for spiritual development and fulfillment. We need to train spiritually throughout the week. Prayer is really important. Bible reading, those are things you do individually. There's devotions on that YouVersion app that John's referenced quite a few times. Some really great devotions on there, and you have your phone with you all the time, just like John did. And so we have access to those things. Granted, I'm not sure how you spiritually develop without prayer and Bible study, but we all have different spiritual needs and different ways that we connect in our relationship with God. A few examples here. Some set a goal to read through the whole Bible in 1 year. It's a great goal. Maybe you're one of those people, and there's a lot of plans out there, different ways you can read it. You can do it in the typical order. You can do it chronologically. You can read the books alphabetically. You can do it all these different ways. I have found that does not work for me. I feel that I connect better when I focus on a chapter. I can do a deep dive into it. Maybe read a devotion, read a commentary on it. Maybe write and give a sermon about it. Whatever. Some people love the big group Bible study or having multiple Bible studies, or they go on a retreat with like 50 plus people, really good for building that sense of community. They look forward to it, the retreats, they look forward to those all year. The idea of doing either one of those to me is terrifying. I know this sounds really weird from a guy who getting up here talking to everybody. But in all fairness, these lights are really bright. I can't see any of you. So, good for me. But, large groups do not make me comfortable. They just don't. I don't spiritually develop. I'm usually the guy in the corner holding up the wall with, water in my hand. I would much rather go have lunch or coffee with someone and talk to them in a more personal setting. In college, I gave it that old college try. I did the large group retreat thing. I did the one-on-one thing. The one-on-one thing, for me, just works better, and I really enjoyed doing that. Paul says in Romans 12, verses 4 through 6, "For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not have all the same function, so in Christ are we, through many, from one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us." Not only do we have different spiritual gifts, but we also have different spiritual needs, ways that we grow with God. Knowing that people grow spiritually in different ways, hopefully you've noticed that as a church, we have tried and are still developing different avenues to help you develop spiritually. Going to just run through a few of those that we've developed in the past few years. We started Kingdom Kids, which has been a lot of fun. It's an open gym for parents and their preschool age kids to come and break up the monotony of winter and just have a good time. And we usually run for about 2.5 hours, and it's been really, really fun. We started Celebrate Walk this year. So if you're one of those people, again, trapped by the four walls and just want a different place to walk, we actually open up the gathering place area, and people can walk and get some exercise when it's maybe not safe to do that during the winter. We started Campfire and S'mores last year. That was a ton of fun. Something about kids loving marshmallows and chocolate and graham crackers just drew them in. I don't know what that was, but we made s'mores and kids played on some of the Kingdom Kids stuff, and so we're planning on bringing that back this summer and fall. And I really just enjoyed getting to know some of the parents who brought their kids. We started the Deeper series on Wednesday evenings. It's been going great. We're going to start that up again in April. We did church picnics last year. We did the back to school celebration last year. Those are going to happen again. More information on those coming. As John mentioned, music team, production team, a lot of the unsung heroes of every Saturday or every Sunday, they could always use some extra hands. Sometimes Brady gets a little lonely up here, so if you have some musical talent, I know I don't have any. You can ask my wife about that. It's not good at all. But I think we John talked about this too. But we did a Christmas Kids drop off. It was really, really cool. I think we had about 20 kids, both from the community and then from Celebrate as well. So basically what we said was, parents, if you want to drop off your kids, you can finish your Christmas preparations, whatever those might be. If you just need a break to either wrap presents or go get some last-minute presents. It was really successful. Kids had a great time, but the volunteers really had a great time too. John talked a little bit about that, but I heard from multiple volunteers, like, this was really just a lot of fun just to engage with the kids. So we're going to do that again. Obviously, it's not Christmas anymore, but so we're going to do them on the second Saturday in February, March, April, and May, where people, where either you or people that you know within the community can drop off their kids for 2.5 hours. We're going to have breakfast. We're going to have some games. We're going to have a Valentine's Day craft. You'll notice that February 12th is awfully close to Valentine's Day. So if you want to take that very special Valentine out to a brunch or however you want to do that, it's absolutely fine. Or if you just need some time to recalibrate with the kids not there, that's great too. But we are requiring an RSVP for that. We are doing a Valentine's Day craft, so it'd be nice to know how much stuff we need to get, and also we're doing breakfast as well. So the link is on the church website. So it's just a sign-up genius. Please utilize that, and as John said, it's not a Celebrate exclusive event. If you know people within the community that'd be like, this person would really appreciate some time, just let them know and have them sign up. That'd be great. So in this series, we've talked a lot about being on the right path and going in the right direction. We believe it's the responsibility of this church to give you the opportunities to grow in the right direction, like we've talked about throughout this series. When I ran through a lot of those opportunities, I'm sure most of you went, nope, not that one. Nope, that's not for me. That's okay. Maybe that won't work. The Christmas Kid drop-off thing was a great example. We started talking to people about it and gauging interest, and we had some people say, absolutely, we'll be there, we'll help, we're looking forward to it, I'll be there. We talked to some other people, and the reaction was, I don't know why I would do that to myself. I appreciate the honesty either way, but our hope is that there is one or two of those things that the church is putting on that you will give a chance. Everything that I just mentioned, we've done it before, either last year or years prior, and it's back on the calendar because people found it beneficial. We also did something last year that did not go overly well. We're not doing those things. So everything that's on that list, that's on the church calendar, people have found value in. So I would encourage you to give some of those things a thought. Wanted to run through one last thing here. I told you there were 2 comments from that analyst on that ESPN show. He said, the good teams practice until they get the play right. The great teams practice until they cannot get it wrong. Translated spiritually, practice until you don't have to think about it. We usually get in trouble when we start thinking. If we want a good relationship with God, we should do our spiritual disciplines until they help us overcome those distractions that are impacting our lives. If we want a great relationship with God, we have to do our spiritual disciplines, both individually and more corporately, until they stop those distractions before they ever started impacting our lives. Granted, that can be hard, but there are things in our lives that already have this second nature. I don't have to think about it. I've been doing it for such a long time. That's just the way I do things. Status in your life. I was actually trying to think of a few examples for that. It was hard for me to think about what I didn't have to think about. But bottom line is that we are capable. And yes, like any great relationship, it will take both energy and time, 2 things that I realize are at a premium in most of our lives. But if we can, the Bible once again lets us know what happens. Deuteronomy 5:32, verse 33 from the New Living Translation. Let's go ahead and read this out loud together. You must obey all the commands of the Lord your God